What's going on, y'all? Happy Thursday. You know what time it is. It's time for Queen's Glean, the after conversation to Kings Speak. So today, the ladies and I will be talking about the points that our guy Jamal brought up. He's a fitness instructor, and he was the last king to speak on Kings Speak. And we talked all about the state of man's heart. So today we're talking decisions and choices, heart posture, relationships aren't perfect. We got submission, sex and marriage. We're just going to have a good time. So stay tuned, get locked, share with a friend, and get ready to enjoy this episode of Queen's Glean. What's going on? I'm so excited to have you guys up in here. This is one of my favorite days of the week, just to sit down and chat with my girls. Some of the stuff we've seen online, get into these topics that the men were talking about, and just have a good time. So if you guys are in here, I see you in the chat. What's going on? Thank you for joining in. This is going to be a fun conversation. So feel free to share with a friend. If you want to type questions, comments, we're about that life. So hope you guys got your glass of wine and ready to dive in. But you know how we do. I'm your host, Jaimi Alexander. And of course, I got my panel with me. So we're starting with Miss Surrender Sessions and Surrendered Society on Facebook herself. We got Keandra in the building. Yeah, let's get her in here.
Hey, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Hey. So glad to see you like always. I feel like I just woke up to life.
I do feel a little bit more of a vibrancy like in this hour. This is normally the time when I tend to wind down, but on Thursdays I get a little more hyped up. So I'm looking forward to it.
We here, girl. And you know, we got to get our third woman on panel, Queen's Glean. She's been with us from the start. She's got a lot going on. Love and good music. Oh, I hope I got that right. But we're going to let Queen Cookie tell you herself. What up, Queen Cookie?
Hey.
What
up? Long time no see, ladies.
I know.
How are you?
Good. Did I get that right? Love and good music.
Show did, girl.
Yeah.
Show did.
I love it. So this is how I'm
Happy
feeling.
Thursday.
It's like all business, but come on now.
Oh my gosh.
Come
You
on
want to see
now.
mine? You guys want to see mine? Okay.
I wish I would have got the memo.
I couldn't do it. I wanted to give you something, but not too much. You know what
I was
mean?
like, I'm only going to go from the top today.
That's all that matters. I feel like I do that every day, and I'm embarrassed to show you what these pants look like, so I'm not going to participate. But had I known, I could have put on some fun little jammies at the bottom.
We didn't plan that, we promise.
I came from work and was like, I'm not sitting in these jeans any longer today. The jeans have to come off.
I'm trying to remember the last time I put jeans on.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we'll skip that one. But yeah, so I'm so excited to have you guys here. I did connect with Key. She'll be back with us for the next episode. So super excited about that. And yeah, so we're doing the after show for our season 2, episode 6 of Kings Speak with fitness instructor Jamal. Really sweet guy. I really valued so much that he had to say. So let's dive into it by starting with, what did you guys think about him as our king level speaker for the show?
I so enjoyed his interview. Like, it's every time that I actually hear from a man, he's, he did say his age. I'm not going to put him on blast, but he's 28.
Oh, I was about to blast him. I was.
And it was like, he is so self-aware for, than like the average 28-year-old man. Like, he is so self-aware and seems to have, so much integrity, especially because he understands the difference between, like being real, but that also means that you have to display something with it, like when he was talking about the distinction of what a king and a queen means and how, it's very popular to just call people that, but to actually demonstrate it and to display what that king level or that royalty looks like, was like, okay, like, he knows what it is. He knows what it is. So I definitely enjoyed his interview.
Same. I mean, the first thing that popped in my mind was when he said he was 28 too. I was like, oh, okay. He, you couldn't have told, like, you couldn't tell by his wisdom. But, hearing his story, even about his mother battling breast cancer while his dad was at war, I was like, oh, okay, he's been through some things. And usually when you've been through some things, you kind of just automatically are come with some wisdom, and you kind of grow up a little bit earlier. Some people always, say, oh, you have an old soul. Like, no, I just been through some things. But right along with what Keandra said, he just had a lot of knowledge for a little bit. And let's just say that men of his age can't, it's just like, it's not common. And it was really a breath of fresh air watching the interview. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. It was refreshing. And it's nice to see, even at 28, there are men who put in the work. And I love that, yes, he's been through things. And additionally, he's, been able to see loving relationships in a lot of different ways that, sometimes we speak to guys who come from a more broken home. And that's where their lessons come from and things of that nature. But for him to just have such a well-rounded perspective, concise answers, and just sharing from the heart, I enjoyed chatting with him. So go Jamal.
Hey Jamal.
Okay. I love it. So we have a few topics today. Topic number 1 is heart posture. Number 2 is decisions and choices. And number 3 is relationships aren't perfect. So we'll dive into what Jamal said his definition of heart posture was, and then we'll see what you guys think about what he said and what you feel it is. Here we go.
If I can just put it in a quick nutshell, it's the way you handle like adversity, as a man, you're going to deal with all types of things. As a person, you're going to deal with a lot of things. And I'm sure, as a woman, the society norm or the societal norms that are put on your life, like trying to deal with those and maneuver through all of that. I feel like when it comes to a man, it's really just, how do you handle adversity? How do you handle your growth period? Are you hiding behind something? Are you being real about what it is that you're going through? Like, what is it? Like, what side are you on?
Yeah. And I love the way he shared that. So just to give you guys some context, the definition of posture, the second definition is a particular way of dealing with or considering something. So with that being said, what did you think about what he had to say heart posture was in the mind of a man?
I appreciated it. I think there's so many different definitions of posture. Like I tend to think of it as like the perception, the seat of our perception, the way that we basically our filter, basically, like, what do we perceive about life? What do we perceive about ourselves? What do we perceive about God? And I think that some of that was actually really in alignment with what he was speaking to about how you deal with things, like basically how you may feel about yourself or what it is that's going on with your heart, the condition of your heart, the condition of just your emotions, that is going to determine the way that you go about handling certain things and the different decisions that you make. And, just a lot of the authenticity that it seems that he seems to, really value about himself, and just that awareness. It makes perfect sense as to, how that could be, I guess, like the barometer of the way that he basically feels that men would kind of just go through life with a certain type of a stance, if you will.
I agree. I was kind of thinking along the same lines of kind of just how you show up to things. And because how you show up is really your posture, it's how you think about yourself. And that's just in anything in life. I know there's that cliche saying, how you show up to anything is how you show up to everything. And so I think, and that was kind of to what he was saying, is like how you, address certain things. That's just, that's your posture, that's your stance on life. And I think that can change over time. I think, people will be in different postures in different parts of their lives. And I think it's definitely part of their journey for sure.
Yeah, I would have to agree with both of you and what he said. It's just, the way in which you show up to things. And I like how he brought adversity into it, because sometimes that can be the ultimate test of where our heart really is. Because when you're being tried and tested, that's when you get the opportunity to really see where you stand. Like, what's coming out of me? Why did I react that way? Or why do I feel this way or whatever? And when you get broken open in a certain way, whether it be a conversation with friends, an altercation at work, a romantic relationship gone bad, whatever it is, your heart posture and how you respond to those things and grow through those things will tell you where you're at. But then also, yeah, it's like that filter in which you do everything. Like,
Yeah.
what is your stance? So I love that. So the reason why I titled this The State of Man's Heart, because I feel like as women, we get together and we can be like, we can feel our seasons. We know when we're kind of all going through the same similar things, or when we come together, we can talk about like, oh my gosh, it was the ego this week. It's fear next week. It's this, like, or whatever's going on. The need to protect ourselves. Sometimes we talk about that. So I was just curious to see, because, you know, guys, they're all talking to each other and going through whatever they got going on. And so I thought Jamal would be a good person to talk to about that. But where do you think, just, I mean, I know we can't say because we don't know, but just where do you think collectively the hearts of men are in this season?
He actually spoke to some of the confusion, and I actually agree with him a little bit. Like, I think that because so much has been, you know, I think just the veil has been lifted on basically this thing of like, there's really no one really knows the right way, the perfect way, that like we're all literally figuring it out. And a lot of the things that we've been told, you know, the societal rules and pressures, you know, we're finding the flaws in that. We're seeing that it didn't necessarily lead to maybe healthier relationships or families staying together or having stronger bonds. You know, like I just feel like all of those veils have been lifted of, you know, the things that we thought were the correct things to do. And so I think that there is, you know, this group of men that are really pursuing their healing. They're really pursuing, you know, trying to get better and do things differently and be more present fathers and husbands and all of that. And then you still have the other ones who are still trying to like be, you know, like in their ego and hiding behind the facade and hiding behind their money and their, you know, their careers and just all those things. And so there is, I think, people are basically grasping towards, I guess, whatever resonates with them, but there definitely seems to be, you know, like you're kind of, it seems that men are either falling into one or two camps, and it's because just so many things have just been, you know, just up leveled and just scattered. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. 2020 was a lot for people. And so I feel like it was a split between the heart space of men. Like she said, you went one way or the other. There's this whole group of men that are just, you know, on this conscious journey, self-development journey, you know, emotional intelligence journey, you know, all these finding their, you know, childhood traumas and things like that. And then there are the others that didn't wake up when everybody else did. So I feel like, yeah, there's a confusion for sure, especially for women and me, like a woman like me who's out here dating like that. It's like, oh my goodness, you get one or the other. You get the conscious brother, or you get the, you want to go to a Laker game? I mean, not go, but you want to come watch the game. You know, it's like, it's one or the other. The ones that got left behind and the ones that didn't. So it's, yeah, there's the heart space of those men, and then there's the heart space of those men. But the ones who are doing the work, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. It's, you know, it's encouraging for a woman out here dating in these streets to be like, okay, you know, just seeing that the pool of men is just, it's getting nice to be in some, you know, and then, yeah, you still got to weed out the other ones, but that's all the time. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying seeing the growth of these men. Mental health is not something that we don't, you know, hide in our closet anymore. And it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, very well said, both of you guys. And that's why I love, and even Jamal was excited. Like, he was like, that's why conversations like this is so important. So thank you guys for showing up every week to talk and share and, you know, give advice and insight and all these things, because it matters. Like, the small things that you do really do send ripple effects into the entire world, and it changes things. And that's kind of how I was feeling about men. It's these two, even Jamal was saying, it's these two pots. It's either you've made the decision to say no more and be the best you can be, or you're just like, I'm good. I'm going to be right here. And comfortable in the comfort zone, or fearful, too afraid to do something different, not wanting to grasp at these resources that we have out here, not wanting to tune into these conversations, pick up these books, tune into these podcasts, whether it's by a man, woman, anything. Like, it takes a certain heart posture to do the seeking, you know, to
Mhm.
you either want to seek and find, or you're either too afraid or too comfortable. And it's funny because I was in the shower right before I did this, and I was like, you know what? I think I might say yes to some more dates.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
you know,
That's
because
exciting.
I know. I'm like, you know, I always say no about 95% of the time. I'm like, no. No, I'm good. But now I'm just kind of like, okay, it seems a little more safer. I trust myself even more to kind of, I speak up a little bit more these days. Like, if I got, you know, if I want to leave, if I got something to say, if I want to not necessarily just tell you about yourself, but I gotta, me being able to communicate, me being able to discern, and the shift that's going on with men, especially in our age group. I'm like, all right, it might be a little warmer to go ahead and stick my little baby toe out there.
Yeah.
She gonna get in the she gonna get in the pool. She gonna get in the pool.
I ain't getting the pool.
I'm already out here swimming. Come on out, girl. Come
I
on
know,
out.
girl. Wait, let me put my little floaties on.
I got you. Come on out.
I'm gonna start with the doggy paddle because your girl is scary. No, but I love it. So it sounds like we're on the same page, and it's good. It makes me really happy. So what do you guys think before I guess we could talk about women. Like, how do we feel like we're doing? I know, Keandra, you and I have talked about some things. When it comes to women's heart posture, I kind of feel like there is a falling away. I don't want to commit too much to be feminine energy did it, you know, because it makes me think about wear a dress, don't cuss, be quiet, blah, blah, blah. But really what I feel like is we're learning to let our guards down in a particular way. So I feel like that's kind of where the temperature is for women, which is really good. And not letting our guards down, like being silly with our goods, but setting healthy boundaries because we know more about who we are, but being a little more fearless, and it's trusting of self, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think about us?
I would agree too. I would agree. Something clicked for me last year that, like, I'm glad I'm on the other side of that fence that we were just, talking about. But I think the biggest thing for me was a V word, and it wasn't vagina, but it was vulnerability for me. Yeah, no, it was about vulnerability for me and being able to do that again, because that was like a no-no for me. My heart was locked away and it wasn't coming out. So, that for me was big, just being able to be vulnerable and being comfortable with me and loving me, self-love, all of that was happening. And so now when I show up from that heart space, and it's completely different heart space from where I was before, because that was a fearful girl coming to the table. Nobody wants to date a fearful person. That's scary as hell, because they're never going to let you in. And I was that person. I wasn't letting nobody in. And, sorry to the fellas that tried, but I was blocked. I was super blocked. And so I feel like 2021 for me is like you, Jaimi, like getting in that water and trusting myself enough to know that I know what I'm doing this time. I know what I want, and sticking to my guns, sticking to my boundaries, sticking to what I want. There's a lot of guys that do date, and, this is no shade to them, but it just doesn't feel right. And I know what it's supposed to feel like. I know what I want, and I know how I want it to feel. I know how I want it to go. And so, and I'm not saying like I have this magical idea. Of course I have the magical idea, but we all know it's not going to happen. But I just know it's a feeling for me. It's like it's a connection that you just know, when you just know. And I haven't felt that yet. And that's a wanting that I have. And so for me, being out here in these dating streets, it's still an emotional heart space for me. You still have to get me here. You still have to make those butterflies go. I want the butterflies. If I don't feel the butterflies, it doesn't, work for me. So just coming from that, from my heart space, and really from my emotional space and feeling, I'm dating from feelings now. It's not what you have on paper, what you are, who. It's like if you can turn me on, and not in a sexual way. I mean, that's good too. But
That's part of it.
It's a big part. But that we could get to that later. But if you can turn me on and light me up, I'm ready to be lit.
Honey, come on.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that, Cookie, because honestly, the vulnerability doesn't stop even in relationship. Like it actually is required even more. And
it's scarier too.
it's scarier, and it's, you realize, like for me, I've realized all the ways that I have put up the walls, because it was reinforced that it was okay. Like it wasn't. Yes, it was for my protection, but there also were moments where it was like good to basically not show too much emotion. You know what I mean? Like, especially just as an ambitious person who spent a lot of time focused on my career, like in that space, you're rewarded for not showing the emotions. You're rewarded for holding all that stuff in until, it obviously is going to erupt somewhere. But, it's what we do to be successful in one area doesn't really work in the next. And it does take a little bit of unlearning, to do that. And so the vulnerability piece, I think, is really good. And I'd also say that it seems like women are just collectively within our hearts, we're giving ourselves the opportunity to do things differently, because, it's just like this freedom, this liberation, like people not necessarily feeling forced to do things the way that like certain institutions, be it church or, certain structures, because they just weren't there. People basically are just kind of trusting themselves to just live how they want to live. And for me, honestly, I think that that's refreshing, because it seems like, people aren't necessarily out here with no morals. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like it's completely where folks are just, completely going off the edge and just doing whatever, but they are at least allowing themselves to experience things that may have been looked down upon, in previous seasons, or, do things without the protocol and, looking for someone to actually tell them, what's the next thing. Just kind of, hey, I'm just going to go out and figure it out and try it and see if it works. And if it does, great. If not, that's cool too.
I love it, because that speaks to resiliency, but in a good and healthy way. And that, like I said, that's kind of the thing that I'm recognizing in me. And it's like, okay, it may not turn out exactly the way, but I can handle it. Like, I'm not that girl. I was talking to one of my girlfriends, and we've been friends for, I think, like 15 years or so. And we used to be an emotional roller coaster all the time. Like, everything was so dramatic. And now, don't get me wrong, I'll give you the dramatics now, but it's not me falling apart that badly at every single turn and everything that's happening. So it makes me feel a little bit safer to get out there and just try different things and not be so pressed, or like you said, Keandra, looking for, is this right? Is this okay? Can I blah, blah, blah? And you brought up another good point. Just in hearing that, I'm like, wow, coming from a corporate space myself, I'm not always corporate. I go in and out, which also makes it hard, because you kind of unlearn that emotionless thing. I couldn't, my personality, I can't, there's a lot of things I can't say just because of the way it comes out, or the way it, or of course, being a Black woman in the workplace, how that is received, and you're supposed to sit down and be quiet. So finding that balance can be really, really challenging. Like, I might have to sit on that one, because I'm like, okay. And now when we're in this entrepreneurial thing and this creative thing, and sometimes we're working with friends, sometimes we might find somebody to work out on Instagram. How do you navigate in being professional, but real, but vulnerable, but honest? But this is a whole new game. This is a new game.
It really is. Because what's been considered professional has always been, the standard of that is a white man, and it's kind of like, that's the buttoned up, suited up, structured, you know what I mean? Like that always has been basically how the standard has been set. And obviously we don't all fall into that, and it's horrible that in order to be considered professional, then that means that our tone has to be, pulled back a particular way, or facial expressions have to soften, and it's not even though there's respectability politics, like there's ways to do that and still be respectful. But if I use my hands too much or just too expressive, someone's going to read that as like,
She's doing too
Right.
much.
Right. She's doing too much. So you basically learn to be multilingual and
Mhm.
putting on the, the whatever and for the different audiences,
We
and
both
a part of
bilingual, aren't we?
yeah, and I
Mhm.
think it's a great skill, but it hasn't come with some moments of like having to hold some stuff down where where if some of the things that have been said to us or some of the things that we've had to endure,
Mhm.
we just know that if we would pop off, like the repercussions would be way different than the way that
You're
the
fired.
response was. Right.
Mhm.
That's
I don't feel
it.
safe around her.
No.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, she's so like mean and just it's hard to come in and approach her. She's just
Mhm.
inapproachable and all of it.
Mhm. Oh yeah, corporate America is just it's hard on women and a black woman at that. It's almost like they look at you like you should be happy to be at the table, but shut up. You know, you're just here for representation, but
Mm-hmm.
shut up.
Yep.
So yeah, I deal with that every day. I'm the one woman on a 5 male team, and I'm a black woman at that. And so there's been plenty of times where I felt like, oh, if I could just say the things that I want to say, but I know it's going to come off very, very wrong because number one, it's coming from a woman. They're all agreeing already. So if I disagree, it's going to be like, what, girl? What are you over
And
here
they could
saying?
probably benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then even on top of that, I remember when George Floyd died, I was in a meeting with them and I remember them all talking, oh, yeah, this is tragic. Mind you, none of them are black. None of them have any idea of what the hell that meant or how it felt to watch that. And I sat there like, oh my God, are they really saying these comments that they're saying? Like,
Yep.
oh, well, they don't bring those riots over here. It was all about, never about his life or what it meant. It was always about other things. And I was just blown away. I was blown away. I was like, this is America. And I couldn't say anything. I was like, wow. I mean, I could and I did. They did give me the floor. They're like, is there anything you want to say? I was like, yeah, black people are hurting right now. You need to be a little bit more sensitive. And that's exactly what I said. And they all looked and shut the hell up. They didn't know what to say. And after that, I really didn't say anything else. I knew I made the room uncomfortable, but I was just like, this is the one time I'm not going to shut up. I was like, black people are hurting. They're hurting. And you guys are worried about riots and what is going on? They see but it's definitely crazy to see the other lens, the other side, and how they view America. It's different. It's very, very different.
Gosh, that's insane. Yeah. And it's a reality. So, I love where we're headed, where 2020 busted wide open. Like, so much is out there. Yes. And on the table. So I really feel like if we just keep moving and keep turning, we can kind of get the ship out of these old waters, like whatever that means when we're talking about men's healing, black folks, what we go through in this country, women, kids, immigrants, that like all of it, like, let's stop. This is not some taboo, weird thing that nobody talks about at the dinner table. This is life. This is our country. We got to dive in. So I think we're definitely headed there, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
So, I love that. We're going to go on to our second topic with Jamal, which is decisions and choices. So he talked about it being challenging for men, like we just kind of talked about, to make a particular choice on what direction a man should choose, because at times they can fear losing something, whether it be friends, money, a job, status, anything. So let's dive in to see what he had to say and elaborate on that.
I think you have to get into a place where you don't care about those things. But as long as you care about those things, and those things could be anything, but as long as you care, you're going to continue to fall for that societal trap, right? Like, it's the moment you stop caring about, well, if I lose friends or if I lose money, or it's the moment you don't care about that, I believe you step into who you're supposed to be.
And I love that he said that, because everybody cares about that stuff. You look on social media, everybody cares about what they're looking like, who's going to think this, blah, blah, blah. We learned that in school from a very young age. I don't know about y'all, but high school, the in crowd, we care about this. Dudes, they probably care more than us women. That's one thing that I learned in interviewing men. They care about what each other thinks about what each other's doing so much. Like this whole tribal thing is so, yes, women, we have it, but men are like really serious about that. So what do you think are some of the ways you feel like
Oh
one can get to a place?
My cell phone
Where-
alarm is about to go off.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, where is it? I can hear
Don't
it.
worry.
Can you guys hear it? If you guys
can
can hear
hear
it, you can hear it. Oh, damn it.
It's not. It wasn't super loud though, but it was a little faint in the background.
Okay. I'm gonna turn my cell phone off. Okay, it stopped. Okay, there we go.
Okay. I was like, don't worry.
Lord.
Oh, look, we have someone in the chat. Hi, ladies. Looking great, Jaimi. Great topic. Yes, Charity Danson. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, my question to you ladies is, what are some of the ways you feel like one can get to a place where they don't care what they lose if it means making choices or choosing a life most authentic to them?
Whew. It takes so much courage. It takes a lot of courage and just I think a lot of us, especially those of us who are in purpose and have some sense of just spirituality and relationship with God and just kind of a sense of the times that we're in, we're all kind of pioneers to a certain extent. So a lot of what it kind of feels like we're doing, there is no blueprint. And moving out and doing it, people have opinions or, they'll kind of basically put on you what their expectations may be or their opinions or their thoughts or, all of that. And to do things that, may not be the exact order that like your parents may approve of, to move to a different country or city or, pursue a different type of a career, just any of those choices, it really takes a lot of courage to basically not be so concerned about what other people care or what basically what they think about. Because honestly, a lot of us, we're kind of conditioned to basically be pleasing and honorable to our parents and, like being buttoned up in a certain way, even as a woman, because we think that that's what it will take to actually attract a husband and, just all of these things. And it's like to be able to just be your authentic self, like that's really what attracts you to what's really meant for you. And I think a lot of us are learning that along the way because I don't really believe it was modeled in like the parents' generation or the generation before us. There's no models for it. So it's like now we're kind of authentically, living out our experiences and disappointing those around us. And, like they may be proud later on or they may not, So we're just figuring it out as we go.
Let me turn my thing off. I was trying to stop my alarm. It's so ghetto. Oh my gosh. But
You're fine.
I agree. It takes courage, I would say, with a mixture of like passion or like drive, because when you have that other outside purpose, or even purpose, that's a better word, you really stop caring what other people think. And sometimes that's your parents too. That's your upbringing. That's your all of that. So I think it's a little bit of mixture of those things because you have to have something worth more than what everybody else is saying. And that's usually what drives you. That's usually your purpose. That's usually what is burning inside of you, so that when he or she or that person over there is like not, in alignment with you, you're just like, okay, it doesn't matter because I'm going this way. I'm tunnel vision. But I think that comes with that same courage that Keandra talked about. I think that was a perfect word too, courage.
Yeah, and I love it because both of you, it's like a combination of both for me. It's the courage and the passion and that fire, like that burning that you were talking about, Queen Cookie, because that's what it is. It's very purposeful. Like I was such a rebellious child, like and I feel like, sometimes I rebel against everything because there's a part of me that just knows like, no, like this was on my heart. This is what I know. I see this thing. I'm a visionary. I see this thing. So when I get locked in a particular way, anything in the way is collateral damage for me.
Hey, that's how it's got to be.
you know, and I don't give a damn because we only live one life. And when I really look at that, it's like, I'm not going to live it in this little box that everybody been trying to put me in since I could talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I guess you're just gonna not have to like me. I've had people call me arrogant. I've had people question my stuff. I've had people, you know, but it was that inner knowing, it was the vision and the courage to just go anyway. And I don't regret any of it because too, I look at where we are when it comes to like COVID and everything. And I was like, man, if I wasn't the woman that I claimed to be or about what I was about, where would I be now? We can't go nowhere in the same manner. We can't. And I was the yes girl. Yes, I'll do the project. Yes, I'll do the interview. Yes, I'll throw the party. Ooh, I got a feeling. Yep, I'm going to do that. Yes. Yes. And because of that, I've built this amazing, like I didn't miss anything because I said yes. So whether that be to the desire for a husband, what you want to do in purpose, who you going to kick it with, what you going to do with it, you know, whatever. Like, I just say go for it. Nobody else is going to live your life but you. And that's what I feel like another thing we're breaking out of with everything that 2020 opened up. Like, I hope these younger kids that are so always online looking for this and that and, you know, feeling depressed about what they don't have and how far they haven't got, just say yes, just go and do your own thing. Like, that's the best way to live. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
You only have one life to live. Do it. Do what you want. Don't, because then you're going to be sitting on your deathbed like, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
I refuse. I'm not going to get to the end and just be like, ooh, I wish no. I'd rather max out.
Max it out.
No regret.
Charge that card, girl.
Right. Seriously. Like, it's just, it's deep, but it's not that deep at the same time. It can all be so simple. All right. So this takes us to our third, you know, that was great point.
Charity says, say yes and go, Jaimi.
Say yes and go. Yes and go. Like, that's it. It's that simple. Like, allow it for yourself. You deserve it. And that's one thing. I always felt like I deserved it. If I wanted to do something, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard to be, me and my dad, I love it because we're so different, but I know he really wanted to pull these reins in and he didn't really understand, but I was willing to get in trouble. I would do something and be like, I know I'm about to get grounded, but I'm going. I'm doing it. I'm out.
Same. Same. I was rebellious because I was like, I just want to do things. And like, my mom was like, she had a grip on me and I was just like, bro, you're ruining my life. Like, like, stop. Like, I want to go hang out with my friends. Like, what's that little, I want to do hood rat things with my friends.
I'm being safe, I promise. I'm not drinking. I was young.
And I didn't want to look back and say I didn't have fun in high school or like my mom, you know, held me down. So yeah, you know, there was a couple of times I just had to go do some shit. I was like, but then there was times that she would let me go too. And so, you know, there was a balance. But when she didn't let me go, I probably was trying to go anyways.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to add something to that, Keandra?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, I'm now at a space where I can understand that the grip that even like my parents had on me was out of protection. So it wasn't necessarily coming from a bad place. So I'm able to extend a little bit of grace, but it also shows me what I will do differently. Because I do think that there were some things that I was shielded from, or either I experienced through rebellion as opposed to being able to be maybe a little bit more prepared and had a little bit more of open conversations that I wish that I could have had, you know, rather than just kind of going out there and just kind of be like, well, forget it. I'm going to just do it what I want because I want to do it anyway.
Let me go figure this out.
Right. Or figure it out, you know, and while there isn't any regrets, there still is, you know, like, yeah, it could have been different. It could have totally been different. But I do understand that, you know, some of those tight reins was because of the protection and the love. So that was all I was
I'm not mad at my mom.
Oh, me neither. I'm glad.
But yeah, I'm like, you know,
well, I'm glad I had some restraint.
Yeah, I'm glad she wasn't letting me be out there either, you know, so I'm definitely grateful for that. But there was definitely times I wanted to go and she was like, no.
Yeah, and it was that nature. So really, I'm speaking to the nature we had in ourselves to be like, you know what, I'm going to go, I'm going to get, you know, because that never left me. The same girl I remember in second grade, I was like, I'm gonna run this race and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna do this. And I was always, that hasn't left me, and it just shows up in different ways. So I love it because, again, it allows us to live a very authentic life, which, again, we deserve. So, yes, this takes us to our third and final topic before we get into our special segment, Trending on Social. I have a couple of cute things that I found. We'll hop into this last piece that Jamal shared on relationships not being perfect, which I really appreciated. So let's watch.
Here's the thing. I've seen my mom and dad married for forever. I've seen my dad's parents married. Like, I've been around marriage my whole life. I've seen love my whole life. So if there's anything that I know based on what I've seen, is none of it is perfect. Everyone had issues. Everyone had up and down. And we have like this perception now that love is, if it's right, it should be perfect. It's like, nah. Based on what I've seen, I mean, I can go based on what I've seen. Based on what I've seen and what I've heard, it's never like that, right? So when it comes to like counseling and stuff like that, add it in. It's only going to benefit you. I don't see how this hurts you by going in and being vulnerable. But again, that's the old stigma. We got to get rid of that. We should be past those moments of I don't need help. We all need help. I don't care who you are. We all need help. So yeah, I feel like it's, for me, when I get married, that's mandatory. I don't care if it's once a month, once a week. I don't care what that looks like, but it needs to happen, because if I don't care who you talk to, when people say what are one of the most important like aspects to a relationship, whether this is with your boyfriend, whether it's with your business partner, they all say communication. Like, wisdom should tell you, like, hey man, I'm hearing that from a lot of people. I should probably focus on communication, and I feel like when you are in therapy, it helps bridge that gap.
Preach, Jamal, preach.
Okay. Sure. We have a couple of things to talk about up in here.
Yeah, that was
Loaded. And so not only was that very well said, but this stood out to me so much because, yeah. So let me ask you guys. First question is, do you think that we've been conditioned to believe if it's right, it should be perfect?
Yep.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they started priming us when we were children with fairy tales and like, this is what love is, and movies. This is what love is. This is what it looks like. And if it doesn't look like this, it's not it.
And this is how it's supposed to show up. And then not really having the tools to maintain it. It definitely is something where we've been primed from a young age to have these completely ridiculous expectations when it's just,
I'm so
mad. I was a Little
movie.
Mermaid fan. I was like,
I love that movie. That's my favorite.
I want to get my legs, and I want to go and lay on dad and my husband really married on a boat.
I want to be where the people are.
I want to be where the people are. My little dingle hopper.
I was a Cinderella girl, so I was always waiting for my prince.
But it's so funny because you're right, Keandra. We talk about the tools to maintain in these Disney movies and these movies. Where was the happily ever after? These people got married. We saw them kiss, and then we didn't see nothing else after that. We were just like, it worked out.
You know why we didn't see nothing else? Because there was nothing else.
The script was over.
They couldn't write the real story.
And we just out here ill-equipped. And I can admit I'm so guilty of it. If something feels too, and this is where we have to, again, relearn. We have to unlearn and relearn, because there's a difference between like our intuition and what we really know isn't right, and when to stay, when to go, and how to navigate that. Is this just a problem that we get over, or is this a red flag? Is this the wrong man, or is this an opportunity for us to grow together? Am I showing up in the right way, or is how can I help him if we're like, now I got to reframe my whole brain just to like make sure I'm not throwing somebody away that could potentially be valuable in my life.
It's so real. And I think that especially I don't know if it's a little bit worse now, but it seems like the pressure of it may be a little bit stronger because we're in a cancel culture. So it's easy to basically throw people away, and just kind of swipe to the next person and, hook up easily, meet another person easier. We're just not really giving people the chance. But I think a lot of that is because we're not equipped with the tools to do all the navigating that you just spoke about, Jaimi, just to kind of know the difference between your intuition versus the red flag versus if they're just not a good person versus is this just a moment of their trauma versus potential versus whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like all of these different things we don't really have the tools for. And in all honesty, we don't have the models for it, because even though we can sit back and be like, oh, our grandmothers, they were married for 30 years, they were dealing with some stuff that I would never recommend anybody of my friends to deal with either.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, grandma's stories.
I would have left grandpa.
I would have left Big Daddy, like these are not model healthy.
I would have left him after the first year.
You know what I mean? Like they may have endured and stuck around for very different reasons, but things are just so different that we're not in a space where as women, we have to make those same decisions, and men either, obviously, so yeah, it definitely is something where I think that we just kind of think, yeah, if it's right, then, there's not going to be any hurdles that you'll have to hop over. And that's totally false.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, it's so false. Charity in the chat said, yeah, and that's sad too. And people easily give up on great relationships when it just needs building and foundation. Yeah. And that's why I love engaging in these conversations. I'm searching for myself a therapist now, and it's just to kind of like help me. I'm always wanting to continue to understand myself more, because the more I understand about myself is the more I can relate to other people, whether it be hearing my intuition or learning where I'm supposed to step in and lean in, or where do I lean back, blah, blah, blah. This is completely new. Our parents didn't learn it. My parents were married for 27 years and I don't even know how they did that. I love them so much for what they did, but they're not compatible. So I look at my dad's childhood wounds, my mom's, that I can see why I don't know everything, but there's certain stuff my mom doesn't speak up about. There's certain things my dad wanted because he didn't get them. And so there's all of this stuff that I'm seeing in my parents and grandparents. And it's like, they just did it and stuck through as long as there was food on the table, or they did it for the kids, or they just stayed married, or it was Christian and we got married, or whatever it was. It wasn't what is going to make us last. Vet properly, make it last, get through it, and have healthy bonds, family, and children for the next generation. So we got a lot on our plate, and it's not bad. We have such an opportunity and resources, but my God, this is new. This is new.
It's just so crazy how the generational shift happened, though, because you see our parents and our grandparents, they were like those last generation that stayed, like you stay together, And then it was also, and then there was this new generation that was like, what? We were free thinking. Everything comes fast to us. I call it the microwave generation, because everything's fast. We need it fast. We have the fast everything, the fast cars, the fast internet. Everything's instant gratification now. And so that fills into our relationships. We want our partner to always gratify us. We want all the good. We want all the hearts, all the likes, all the good feelings. And when it's not feeling good, it's like, oh, okay, well, I need to go get that somewhere else. And back to the microwave, back to go get something else. Like that's just, unfortunately, that's just what's instilled into this new generation. But I think like now, like you said, that we're having these conversations, people are coming into this different space of consciousness now. We're learning to communicate better. And I feel like this next generation of marriages and relationships will be a lot stronger and healthier. I think we're about to step into a new age of love. And instead of seeing us stay together forever for the wrong reasons, you see relationships that are on solid, strong foundations. Therapists have been in their years for 30. The therapist should be at the wedding anniversary, like we've been having her for 30 years too. Like,
come on, Miss Deb.
Should be like barbecues and everything. The therapist should be there, or your pastor, whatever you need. Keep that first. Whatever your vows were, those vows, go back to them. I love when people renew their vows, because you need to remember what you said last year. You need to remember what you said 15 years ago, because sometimes you forget. You're looking at this person with such disgust, And forget that
happens.
I used to say I love you. I used to love you. What happened? You need to remind yourself. Go back to those foundations. And I think that's what's wrong with our generation. Our foundations are like the little pig with the straw house. Like
The whole thing just gone. Like
Just
after one
flimsy.
argument.
like, little pig, let me come in. Relationship done, son.
That
Like,
is an analogy, but it's so real.
it is so real. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have a nice, slow roasted meal than microwave food. I don't even use my microwave. If I didn't have one freshly installed in here, I ain't owned the microwave since
That's what you should do.
2007. Yeah, this is that upgraded stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't do microwaves. So why do we want to see that in our relationships, our careers, all of this stuff like that? But when it's juicy and slow roasted, it's been cooking all day. I'll wait.
The house smells good. Got the house
is
smelling good.
Sure. You know when you finna eat, and I'm gonna eat, and my plate's gonna be clean. Like we're getting it. We're going in on this. And so I'd much rather have that than, the microwave society. And there's something else that you said. Yeah, our foundations. It takes a while to grow roots and foundation into things, so that way it's not blowing over. Like even if you think of a tree, these trees have been around for hundreds of years. You can cut them down, the roots are still there, it's going to grow back. It's going to take
They're
a
so
lot
deep.
to unearth something that's and then renewing vows too is amazing because it's the power of the intention and the spoken word. And because we're humans, we do need that refresh and recycle. If you're not going to wear the same undies every day, why are you just going to go off the I know. That's probably was a very short.
No, but it's just it's just a reminder. But it's a reminder of the commitment, because sometimes we forget, especially when you're in the heat of the moment. You're in the heat of an argument. You're in the heat of
you have kids. You
being
have
mad
jobs.
with somebody. You forget that commitment that you had in the beginning. You need to remind yourself what you said. Or were you lying? And that's still something that you need to come up with. And that's why that's important to keep reminding yourself.
Absolutely. So I got the opportunity. I don't know if you guys saw, but I was on Fox Soul a couple of weeks ago with Tamar Braxton, Red Grant, Earthquake, and Uncle Luke. Okay, the Mike and Donnie show. So if you want to catch that episode, it was really good and interesting. You could just go to my Instagram right here and click the link in bio. But it was so funny because when the topic of premarital counseling and therapy came up, it was guys against girls. Me and Tamar were like, huh?
Yeah.
What you mean no counseling?
Yeah, they were like, if we got to go to counseling, the relationship is done.
Yeah.
Like, really?
That's that old school mentality, though.
And I was going to ask y'all about that because Uncle Luke is actually on his third divorce. He's currently going through it right now. He'll hop on Instagram live every other day and let you know about it. But oh, Uncle Luke, I got to get him on King Speak. We got to talk about this. I really just want to understand.
Yeah.
But okay, so this is some of the stuff. So it's easy to see why the Black community back in the day rejected the idea of therapy. One, because I'm sure there were little to no accessible Black therapists, but also our need to protect ourselves. So I know that because of racism or where you lived, but there was a lot of different things going on in the air for Black people where I'm pretty sure there was a different mentality for our parents, especially our grandparents. But yeah, Uncle Luke also mentioned we didn't have the money to do that. We wasn't paying for stuff like that. So what do you think some of the upsides?
I would like to add to that too. I feel like, especially for my household, it was like what happens in this house stays in this house.
Stays in the house. Them old.
And you don't tell other people your business and the family business. And so that also created that blockage of communication as a child too. You don't say what happens at home, even if it's bad and it's hurting you. And that starts that childhood trauma already with children. There was things happening in the homes and the child couldn't say anything because they feared their parents more than their health and their safety, because what happens at home stays at home.
Very true. And it was one of those things, like I was raised like that too. Like, don't tell your business. Like what happens here stays here. So what do you think some of the upsides of where we are as a society that can welcome therapy as a norm? Like, what do you think the upside? Well, of course it's obvious, but how do you see that benefiting our community to welcome that in premarital counseling and counseling as a norm for our relationships?
It's the tools. It's the the understanding. It is the objective perspective, like someone who is not and usually, at least, my therapist, there isn't even this like super strong Christian or spiritual thing. Like there isn't a religious thing. Because I think sometimes for some people, and it's totally fine if that's kind of what they prefer. But I think that sometimes when you are like only going to like a pastor, someone who may not necessarily be a mental health professional, not to say that they're not good at mediating certain conversations, but they're not necessarily trained mental health professionals. Those conversations can be very different, and you're not necessarily dealing with someone or talking to someone who's equipped to help you move through the trauma, which is really what a lot of us carry and what we're dealing with. And so the upside of that is that we literally have the tools, you know what I mean? The tools, the understanding. We can give ourselves some grace to be able to realize that a lot of the stuff that we're feeling is generational. Like it's basically it's in our DNA, because the trauma, especially as Black people, the trauma that we've experienced is generations over generations, and we also still experience it in different ways. So the upside of it is, that there's breakthrough and that there's healing. The downside of it, if that was even going to be, like a question, is it still isn't as accessible as it could be, unfortunately. It does cost. It is an investment. There are some services and things out there that are popping up to, help, maybe single moms or, people who basically are in a particular income bracket still have access, because it is something that, even for myself, it was hard to find my therapist, and it really should not be that hard.
I'm looking and look. It's a lot. There's a lot of different things.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And so for the person who doesn't have the capacity to do the research or even, the coin to make that kind of an investment, the downside of it is that it does require that an investment. And so sometimes people just don't have it. So
that's what I would have liked to see, and I don't want to make this politicize this conversation too much, but when Black Lives Matter got all those billions of dollars, it would have been nice to just really see where that money went, because a crap ton of therapists for children, women, men, all specifically for our community, just seems like it would have been a really great investment. Probably would have only, I couldn't see it even costing more than $100 million, which is nothing when you're getting billions. Yeah. So show me Black Lives Matter. I believe it. We scream it. We know it, but I don't know where that money went. And it would be really nice if I could see that maybe it went to paying Black therapists their worth, their rates to take care and make the investment in the community mentally.
Yeah.
Because if you just give the community, we can build the community center. That's cute. We can build it. We can do all these things. But if you don't have the mentality to maintain it, enjoy it, dive into it the right way, use it the right way, it's just going to end up toe up with the mentality. So why are we not investing in the mindset of our people? It's just a question.
Because that's the trap.
Well, what are we doing? Why, where do, that would have been nice. I think that would have just been beneficial. That's all. So, this was amazing conversation. I don't know. Do you guys have a little time? I have some little stuff I found on social media that was fun, but we are at an hour, so I don't want to, y'all good for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I done turned my alarm off now. Shoot.
Your phone was like.
And the thing is, I remember I set that alarm last week because I was taking a nap and I needed to wake up at that time. Forgot it was on. I'm like, oh my God.
No, I definitely know how that goes. I actually had to hop up out of bed last night because I remember my alarm thing went off because I have it set for daily. But I was like, I'm not getting up in the morning. Let me get up and turn this off because I don't want to hear it at 6 a.m.
Right.
I'm going to be real mad.
Right.
So those alarms. So this was an amazing conversation. It was so nice to just dive deeper into the things that Jamal had to say. Such beautiful and powerful conversation. And now we'll just go on to our trending on social segment where we find some cool, fun, engaging things that kind of were trending on social media during the week that we can engage in. So I found a couple of things that I thought were interesting. So now I can get your thoughts. Okay. This first one. Okay. I've been seeing a lot about this. sex in marriage. Some people are saying that sex deprivation is a huge issue. There's a lot of confusion on how much sex you should be having, when things change, how that conversation should go. So here's a clip from Black Love's Couch Conversations with Duval and Kadeen.
It's so difficult for a man to see the light when it comes to monogamy. Because it's like you spend your whole life thinking about how many women you're going to sleep with. Yeah. Then you accidentally fall into the woman of your dreams and you're like, I do not want to mess this up. Yeah. But you also think like there's no value in me being monogamous right now. As a man, as a young man, when you're not married, you're just thinking like I should just try my options. But then you have a woman that you love and you're trying to be monogamous and you're not getting sex as often as you want. It's just like, it's frustrating. And it took me time as a husband to realize that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got married at 27. We've been together since 18. I didn't date a lot of women. I was with her. But I was just like, if sex is important to me, how come it's not important to you? It would be important to you if I was having sex with somebody else. And then she was just like, yeah, it would be, but, and I just didn't get it. Like, I really just
didn't know how to answer that one.
So it's actually funny. I watched their podcast that they have together, and they have an entire episode on this. And they went in because he would be like, you weren't giving me sex when I wanted sex. And she was like, but you don't understand. Sometimes our bodies don't want sex, and it has nothing to do with our partner. It has everything to do with our hormones, how we're feeling, and sometimes our bodies are just not in the mood. And, men, they're always in the mood. And so he dove into that, about how he was always ready to get it in. And there was just sometimes that she just didn't want to, and how they got through that, because of course that's hard. And I think that that's an important conversation. And this is why you have therapists and premarital therapy, because men have to understand there are times that we don't want to. Like, we just don't. And it has nothing to do with them. And it is a mindset too. And she told him that too. She was like, you was just trying to come and just have sex. I'm still your wife. You still have to wine and dine me. You still have to make me feel good. If you wanted the sex, it was part of more. He thought, I got a wife, meaning I have a vagina that's always ready for me. And that's not the case. These men think, I'm marrying you, you're mine. That's mine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work like that. And so this is a really big topic and a really good topic, because it's important on how our sexual chemistry is wired as women. Then there are certain things, when we're pregnant, we're different. When we're postpartum, we're different. When we go through menopause, we're different. We go through a lot of different things as women. Our cycles, there's a lot of things going on. Men don't understand that. And it's okay for them not to understand, but there has to be a level of communication about that. Like, we don't always want it. Like, we don't. In a marriage and you're locked in, that's probably hard for a man to want to come home and have sex with his woman, and his woman doesn't want to. That's difficult.
Yeah. So I'm not married. I really don't know what to say. However, I make myself privy to this stuff because you think, in your singleness, you're always, if marriage is your desire, you want to prepare as much as possible. Like, I'm enjoying my single life, but I think about these things like, man, like, how am I going to handle this? Like, do I need to be asking my man up front, like, what his expectations are? Like, how do we find the balance? Because something that he said, I appreciate his transparency, because men and women think differently. So something that might sound a little off to me, I can't knock it because I'm not a man. So I can only honor it because it's coming from an honest place from him. So I appreciate that. But it's just like, even to be like, oh, well, if I was getting it from someone else, then you would be and it's just kind of like, but still, that's not really how it works. There's so much more to it. Like you were saying, Cookie, with, like, still wine and dine me. Like, you gotta make me juicy all day. It's not a utility where you just come home and you're gonna get yours and go to sleep. Like, we don't operate like that. And I think it sounds to me like it takes two. So understanding on his part that women aren't just this utility of a vagina, but we do want to serve. We don't want you to go anywhere for it. But if we're not in the mood in a particular place, it's not an invitation for you to go somewhere else for it either. Like, we have to be able to meet in the middle somehow. And it's a little confusing. I don't know. Keandra, what do you think
Yeah.
about because I don't know. I'm just like, I get it, but it's like, it takes two. It takes two.
Absolutely takes two. And, sex as a woman and just, for me, it's so much more of it is emotional and mental. And so I think that, the way that you said it, like we are more than just the utility of a vagina. And I think that that's something that is taught and men are primed for it. And even women are primed to kind of believe that the moment that you get married, you basically just give it to them whenever they want because it's theirs. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not really with that ownership. You know what I'm saying? Because there's going to be moments when you probably aren't going to be either feeling well or in a headspace or whatever the case may be. And what if you can't get it up? You know what I'm saying? Like, does that then give me the license to basically go out and do it with some other dude? I'm sure you wouldn't want that, So I feel like it's the same way. And there are some women who have high sex drives, and there's even statistics and things that show that it can actually, women's sex drive can actually increase later in life, and men basically have to try to keep up sometimes. You know what I mean? So it's like there's going to be a season where you're going to have to continue to perform yourself. You know what I mean? So it's not always going to be this thing of, well, if the woman ain't giving it to me, then I'm gonna just go out. You know what I mean? Like, we don't expect you to be putting it down too, but there is some warmed up and primed, and I don't know if it definitely is a conversation, but I think that it does go with ebbs and flows of seasons. Like everyone's gonna be affected with life, be it loss of, family, loss of a job, just physically being sick, being on, women, we're cyclical, we're, on our cycles, menopause, postpartum, all the things, right? So the cycles are continuous, therefore the conversations are continuous, the communication, hence therapy, hence some of those things, and maybe even having an understanding from your partner of just what are their expectations, and hopefully they have a sense of awareness of what it is that they want. For some couples, 2 to 3 times a week is fine, like they're not necessarily needing to have it daily, and it just varies by the person and by the couple. So I think it's just based on the two coming to an agreement. And in the moments when your partner is not able to deliver, then maybe even coming into agreement of what it is that you do to get through those moments. Like, is it just oral sex? Is it just, I'll let you just watch the porno? What is it? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It could be different.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's the lotion. Go in the other room.
Knock yourself out, babe. Yes, and
you're finished.
And I think too, I don't expect things to always be, and I don't know, because like, again, I'm careful not to speak too much because I'm not married, but I know that there'll be times too where maybe I'm not in the mood, but I'll do it anyway. And I don't need to let him know that I'm not in the mood. And because, I will honor him as my husband and understand the need. And, I think it's different for us women. Sometimes we need the little things or the softer things, like, I read online, it's like, did you clean the bathroom? Are you getting the baby? Mm-hmm. Are you doing, how are you stepping in to where at night when it's your moment? I got time and I'm feeling good because I was like, I came into that, it's all clean, baby. Oh, thank you, or whatever it's gonna be, So it's also how are the men willing to show up to get that nookie?
Yeah, because you could come home and cook dinner and let me go get ready for that. Because a woman trying to slave over a stove, put the kids to bed, and then come and take care of you too. I look gross. I'm sweaty. I feel gross. I don't want that. Now, if you handle that while I'm in the bathtub getting me right and shaving and doing all of that, when the kids get down, I'm gonna be ready for you. So it's like, it's a balance. You can't just have her be Superwoman and then come and be your little porno girl in the bedroom. It just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah. And those moments of taking care of, some of the domestic things, or even just, the errands, I think that's a form of foreplay.
It is. I don't think guys understand
turn on.
It is.
Man.
Anything outside of the norm is a form of foreplay because it turns us on. It's like, oh, you thought past the norm.
Yourself. You thought past yourself.
Right.
This is about me. Wow, now I have so much room to be about you. I feel like, I don't know if men are selfish by nature or what, but I think it does require a little bit more of them to think about somebody other than themselves. And I don't mean that in a smart mouth way. I just think that they're wired to like, whatever they're doing, but to invite in, oh, let me put this person's feelings on my plate. I don't think that's a natural thing. So when you do it, it's like, oh my God, you thought about what I have going on. Thank you. And let me show my appreciation so I can keep getting these gifts, you know? But this actually goes perfect into the second clip that I found. And I know, Keandra, you're going to laugh because I'm all about this. But this one is about submission. Let's see what Real Relationships podcast had to say.
I think the only problem during that moment when she told you that you're supposed to submit to your husband is that she didn't tell me that I'm also supposed to submit to God.
Okay.
Which would then cause an issue. Because I feel like this has been an issue in society, periods, where we're always trying to prepare the woman to be a wife, but we're not preparing men to be a husband.
Come on with the word.
Like, I think it's unfair to just tell the woman her responsibilities as a wife, but then not tell me what my responsibilities are as a husband.
Okay.
Your girl did good now. I got a good, got our girl little clip.
Yep.
Because
Yeah, that was some honesty. Yeah, that was some honesty because I think a lot of men, especially like Christian men, they do come from the, you know, a lot of the Bible will, you know, it's about the woman and what she's supposed to do. There's not really anything that shows them that what it is to be to honor thy wife, like,
no,
you know, there is,
but we don't play up on that. It says it.
no, they don't. It is still a little bit, you know, on the female side where you have to honor your husband, you have to submit, you have to do these things, and it's painted throughout culture, throughout history. And so to see a man say, well, nobody gave me the you know, the game plan, that was interesting because men don't, I mean, nobody's ever given the game plan, but men don't really have any kind of history or of them being vulnerable in relationships. You don't see that. You don't see men showing them being changing diapers in history or showing up for their woman in history. You don't ever see that, you know, and that's never really painted until maybe as of late when you see these like daddy daycare movies or things like that. But in history, it was always, even in cultural, we were just talking about this on my job today, like the Latino, the machismo, Asian culture, they honor their, you know, the man, the firstborn, you know, it's a lot. It's always been about, you know, pleasing to the male. So I don't think that they have a strong foundation of like what it is and how they can serve us, and that shouldn't even be a negative. To say that you're serving your wife shouldn't even come off as being a negative thing. And I think some men, if you told me, but what? My coworker we were talking about today, he's married to an Armenian woman, and he said he went to a family party and he gave her a drink, and her uncle came over there and he said, I don't ever want to see you do that again. She serves you. And it was just the conversation I had today, this morning. So it's crazy that this is coming up. But I'm just saying this is the mentality of a lot of men, is that, you know, the woman is beneath them. So it's just interesting to think, like, what if we did teach our men to serve their wife? What if we did teach our men to care for and cater to their woman, and that's not being soft, you know, or that's not being less than? I think society would be different for sure.
And it's not only doing women a disservice, it's doing men a disservice to not have that kind of education, to be honest.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's the imbalance. And it's like I could appreciate what he said, because he at least owned the responsibility that there is another side to it, that it's not just about you being so prepared for me. I also need to be prepared for you, you know, as a husband. And so that was actually a refreshing clip. So I'll give you kudos for that submission clip.
Because I'm about that life. I feel like, because when I hear it, I don't hear just shut up and go cook, woman, don't say anything. I just feel like because the other part of it is, you know, women submit to your husband, but husbands love your wife like God loves the church. And so there is that, whether you're biblical or not, the whole point is that preparation. You need to know how God loves the church. And he does nurture, take care of, look out for, serve. That's like the main thing. So if you miss
I don't
that
think they
part,
get it, girl. They missed it.
but correct, because like you said, girl, this patriarchal society, we're shouting from the rooftops what women need to do and what men ain't finna do. Y'all skip the whole same sentence that matches ours. We submit, you love us. You love us. It's not just the other part. So that's the kind of man I could submit to. If I'm sure that your leading is coming from God and you're treating me like Christ treats the church and you're giving me that, I can absolutely, what am I going to buck up against for? I don't have to protect myself here. And if we decide to do something that you choose and it's not the right thing and you don't take my, insight at the moment, then the next time it comes up, we'll do it differently. That's partnership. That's not me being a slave but I can submit and sit down, and I've been single this whole time. I'm gonna have to something's gonna be different when I get into a relationship, and I'm just okay with that. And I like the idea of trusting my man so much that I can lean into the way he wants to lead the household. Like I've been the boss of my life this whole time, and I'm never going to stop being the boss of my own self. I'll still be a woman, but I'm just like, okay, I'm down to work with you on this stuff. I'm good with it. But you need to understand that other part though.
They definitely do.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, it takes two. It takes two.
It takes two.
That word still rubs me negatively. Like I loved the description that you said, but if it had a different word, then, I don't know, the word itself, just submit, has a negative trigger for me where I'm just like, nah, I'm not.
Just sounds like you got to do something for somebody else.
It sounds like surrender to me. It sounds like,
surrender sounds sexy. Surrender is
surrender.
Sexy.
Yeah. Submission reminds me of that. I don't know.
But again, maybe my thoughts will change, as I embrace that, there is an expanded definition,
I know.
It's not just about, the man basically coming in and just trying to like dictate everything and be the dictator. Like I'm good. I'm cool on that.
No.
That I'm a definitely buck up against, because it's just nah. No, but I got you. But where it's about the dynamic and being able to be in the the ebb and flow of a relationship, and the strengths and the weaknesses of, not even necessarily just about the gender, but just the other partner, and us being able to submit to one another.
Yes.
Not submit, respect, or I don't know, maybe a
yield.
I don't know, yield.
Yield to.
Yield, work with, respect, love, and yeah.
We're gonna work on it. We're gonna find another word.
I need to be massaged in that area.
Oh my God, I'm ready to dive in. Like, what's that? Like, I don't know. I don't. Maybe I'm crazy. But that was a fun topic, and this is the last one. I thought this was really cute. This is something quick, easy, and something that we can all take home with us. But Brandon Alexander, he was one of our kings on our past episode for The Mindful Man. And he has a podcast called The Refinery with his co-hosts, John and Colt. And I saw this clip and absolutely loved it. So let's dive into it.
A lot of times people think about, what are the deal breakers? What are your 5 deal breakers or 3 deal breakers? You see it and not going to happen. And I had a friend challenge me, what are your 5 deal makers? When you find someone who hits all 5, forget what the deal breakers are, because a lot of times deal makers tie in the deal breaking part. But once you see them have those deal makers, that's a bonus. Like, this is like when you see all those things, these are things I would love to have in a partner. This is when we're focusing on what we do want, not focusing on what we don't want. So when we're focusing on what we do want, we can create that, but at the same time, being able to, when we find those people and see that and have that experience, I'm like, wow, this exists.
That was good. I like that.
I appreciated that.
I like that too. It actually reminds me of another like info meme or whatever that I've seen floating around, but like basically the relationship green flags, because we're always so focused on the
Right.
red flags? What are the things where you actually like, hey, you're with someone of, this could be a good match here, or these are the things where you can continue to proceed and not give up or just whatever. So I like that because it's a shift in the mindset and what you're creating and what we're manifesting and what we're seeing and experiencing. So I definitely can get with that. I like it.
And I think it really stretches people to dig to what they really want. Because I think everybody's always looking for what they don't want. And then they're so confused when they get a partner because then they're still unhappy. And you're like, well, why am I unhappy? It's because you don't even know what you want. You just like them because they're not what you don't want, but they're not what you want either. So, they just checked all your boxes. So you have to make sure that list that he's talking about, those deal makers, are those things that are connected to your soul. Like I had to change my list too, because my list was so like, I would say on the aesthetic side, oh, he has to be this tall. I want him to make this type of money. I want him to have a house. And it wasn't about that anymore. Now my list is more like, I want us to go on adventures together. I want us to talk about intellectual conversations. I want him to have a connection with my child. It's not even about what he looks like, what he sounds like, how much money he makes. It's all about, these other factors that I never factored in until, like I said, everybody else, I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I like any of these guys? Because I wasn't looking for the right things. I wasn't, like I said, my deal makers. The guy that I'm going to marry will have all my deal makers. And none of these guys did because I didn't even know what my deal makers were. So that was beautiful. I can't wait to continue my deal maker list because I think that's exactly like you said. Like once you write it down, you call it into your life.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's been interesting the type of men I've been calling into my life because I've changed my mind completely as to what I want. It's not about an aesthetic for me. Now, don't get me wrong. I still have my manifestation of my 6-foot man. But, I'm not so into, that part anymore. It's like I told y'all in the beginning, it's about a feeling for me. I'm going to need him to light me up. A 6-foot man about to light me up.
Yes, I don't think you're asking too much at all. And I'm the same way. I just like the positive affirmation of it because we are always, what we not going to do and deal breakers. And this is not, but yeah, just per, language and the way we speak and the power of the spoken word says that's not how you manifest what you want. So why not change the language? Look for the deal makers. So you're actually identifying the things that light you up. So I made myself a little list too. It's in the other room, but I know kindness was on there. Somebody with a sense of humor, passion, because that's, I know how I live my life and I know how we can bounce off of each other and just what makes it rich and fun and full. And, Cookie, like you said, those conversations, a deep conversationalist. And so there's all these things that I'd love to see. And I'm excited to expound on that list because we should be talking about what we want. It's that simple.
Yeah. And it's such a different energy that we radiate when we're talking about or just even living from the place of what it is that we want rather than just focused on what we don't want. Like it's a totally different vibration that does bring a different type of a person into your life. So it's definitely, I really like the deal maker. I don't think I've ever heard of it in that way, but yeah, it's good. I like it.
Yes.
Shout out to Asia in the chat. Hi, Asia.
Hey, Asia Math. What's up? Salute,
Hey,
Queen.
Asia.
Let's see if I can put it. Oh, I don't know. Oh, there we go. little shout out right there. We connected in the barbershop. Y'all know Fred. He was on one of our past episodes too about being bold. But Fred at Barbershop Conversations, that's where Asia Math and I met. And so we stay connected from the barbershop. So yes, this was an amazing conversation. I needed this. This was just great. There were so many great points and I know it's going to bless people to just tune in. So y'all know what it is. We'll go ahead and, do our little outro. So Keandra, we'll start with you. Let us know where to find you, what you got coming up and any little thing that you want to say for the people.
For the people, well, definitely thank you all for tuning in. It's always just a pleasure and a blessing to be able to connect with you all, and hopefully these things resonate and are impacting your lives in a positive way. To follow me, you can see me here.
No, it's so hard.
You can find me on Instagram, Keandra_D. And then also, if you were looking to be in a place and connect with women of like-minded, just energy and spirituality and purpose and wanting to have well-being at the center, find us at the Surrendered Society on Facebook. And you can join a private group full of women who are just having some really, really good in-depth conversations and supporting one another and lifting each other up and praying for one another, just all those good things. So we'd love to have you if that is the type of woman you are.
Hey.
Yes, I love Surrender Society. I'm a new member.
Yeah, you are.
I was like, let me in, let me in.
Your picture is so cute.
Come on,
too.
girl.
Aw, yeah.
I know, I read the thing and it was like, post a picture of yourself. I was like, oh my God.
So cute. I love it.
I was like, snap. But thank you, Jaimi, for always having me on my days that I can be on here. I love being on the conversation. And, I always tell you, keep going with King Speak because it's a great platform, not only for men, but for women to learn too. I learn watching these things too. Just the mind of a man. It's hard to be in their heads, just like it's hard for them to be in ours. So, and there's a lot of dialogue about us and not enough about them. So I love the platform. So they're definitely always appreciative of the space. And you guys can find me. Oh, yep. Right there somewhere. And I just filmed my second episode of my new show, Loving Good Music. So I'll be putting that out shortly. And then you can just follow me to see everything I have going on too. And yeah, just keep getting better, people. If we heal ourselves, we heal the world. So.
Oh, so true and so good. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thanks for pouring out today. And of course, you guys can find me at Jaimi Alexander on Instagram. You can check out King Speak, Queen's Glean. And of course, I have a course out called The Power of Posture, all about how to walk life courageously as a woman and authentically for yourself. You will naturally find your feminine flow and your courage and all of these things, but it's more about your own personal way and authenticity and how to find the modalities that help you do that. So check, yes, the like button, the subscribe button, the share button, please do all of that. You can also follow Kings Speak on Instagram and indulge in that content as well. And we'll see you guys. So I think we're going to do next week off. Still trying to find a rhythm. But so we're going to be on Queen Cookie schedule for a minute. So we'll see.
Oh, good.
We'll see y'all next time. But follow us on Instagram so you can stay in tune with everything that we have. So thank you guys for watching. And
that makes me feel good. I will be missing those shows.
No.
There's a lot of conversations. I'm like, oh, well, I want to say this.
Girl, I already know. I'm like, oh, she got on this one. I know she would like it. All right, y'all. I love it. Have a great rest of your Thursday night and see you soon.
Same.
Peace.
Good night.